Gateway in one word. Wow, one word is hard.
In short, I would say it's a family.
Family.
It's home.
Yeah, this is a place of community.
I love the unity.
I love the compassion.
I love the family.
I love the support.
I love the dedication.
Acceptance. Everybody's welcome here.
It's just always been a place of security, I guess.
I love the vision.
I would say I just love the vision.
Well, I know the word that probably got used a million times is family, because that's the first word that came to my mind, but it is very true.
This is our family.
The quirkiness. What church can be in, like, surrounded by cornfields, but then we throw these, like, epic parties and have a cafe and, like, also go deep in revival. Like, it's just quirky. Like, there's just really nowhere else like here.
I'll give the cliche answer. Gateway in one word really is family.
I think the first thing people say is like family. Like Gateway's a family, which is obviously like gwafamily.com. So it's like that's something we are trying to encourage, that familial unity. But why is it a family? The question you have to ask is, why is that the case?
Amen. That was an impressive introduction. I was waiting for the guy to walk up that he was introducing, but technically I'm not more than qualified. I totally depend on our Lord Jesus Christ. And without him, I would be nothing, and I basically am nothing. But through him, we are everything. We can accomplish all we can in him. One thing I can say is that God has something for Emley City Assembly of God, and it's good. It's good.
Right from the start, we just loved him, his personality, his ways to relate to everybody, and he impressed us right at the beginning.
He was a city boy coming to a country church, came in a suit and tie.
The boys all dressed up in their matching suits and stuff. That was, that's what I remember.
You guys trooping in your little three-piece suits and your vests. You were so cute.
I don't remember what we wore, but knowing my mother, we were probably in like knickers, knee-high socks, suspenders. It would have all been matching.
There was like brown fake brick, like on the inside. It was rough. Paul Wampler was on the drums, and the worship leader would lead with Justin Bieber had mic. And they did "Great and Mighty Is He," and this threw me off because the whole crowd is going "Great and Mighty Is He," and then they'd all go at the same time together. And then Paul Wampler would always get a drum solo. So it was awesome.
It was very redneck, like the things that were normal. We grew up, at that time in Flint, so coming there, it was like very foreign to me when, for fun, these people had like a piglet that they like poured grease on, and it was a little fence, and the goal was to try and catch it, and like that was fun to them. Like it felt like we were like, it almost felt like we were like missionaries at that point, like that we were like stepping into a foreign land, and it was very foreign to us.
The first thing that we were impressed with, I think, was the passion that Pastor had, passion for souls to be saved, for evangelism, and using any means possible to reach the lost.
We could appreciate what they brought to the table because we had ourselves just returned back to the church. It was kind of a new beginning all the way around for us.
There was nothing bad that stood out. It was all new, it was fresh, something different that we needed.
I don't think we disliked them. I think we were trying to figure this out, who this was. My personality is a little more reserved when stuff like that starts coming in. I was just trying to feel it out.
It wasn't until after the first sermon, that you could make a decision. To me, he preached the word from the Bible. Through all of his sermons, you knew it was Bible taught. All you had to do was open your Bible, and he always said, open your Bible and see what I'm saying is the truth. He never told us to take me at my word.
The thing that I remember so clearly is his installation. I was asked to preach the word. I came with the topic to the message, "Are you known in hell?" You are to be known as a pastor in the fact that you preach the Word of God and hold steadfast with it. And I can honestly say that he has been very frank with the people, very bold, very honest, and giving forth the full word of the Lord. I'm very proud.
The Bible tells us in the last days, as Jesus talked about, and he said, and many will be offended. And then as he goes on in that chapter, they will fall away from the church.
I remember I was 10 years old at the Emily City McDonald's when it used to have a play place. I remember playing in it, and I didn't understand what I was looking at. But I remember going through the tube and like the opening and looking down, and both my parents are sitting there with a piece of paper, reading it together, and there's crying.
I remember my first year, there was 2 deacons I knew totally did not like me. I happened to live in the church parsonage right across the parking lot from the church. And so after the rough deacon meeting, I would be in the living room, and the 2 deacons that didn't like me were still in the parking lot talking to each other. I would peek through the drapes, and I'm like, oh, the sick feeling that I was having, because I knew they were tearing me apart. They were devising a way to get me out of the church at that point.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, just shortly after that, they put out a letter against me to the people to boycott the church on a Sunday.
Where the lavender farm was, that's where the old church offices were. And I remember Pastor coming in with the letter. He read the letter to us, and I remember being so mad.
In the letter that came out, asking people to boycott, the allegation against Pastor was that we needed somebody that loved the word, loved people.
The phone rang, and Pastor Jeff was on the phone with a very, very sad, shaking voice. And he said, Mom, this has just been sent out to every member of our church. And he told me the content of the letter. And as a mother, my heart was just smitten and broken. And we went into a complete time of sorrow and agony, knowing our pastor's son and his wife were going through this trial.
We really didn't have connections at this church because I had just come back to church after being gone for quite a while. When we got the letter in the mail that all of this commotion was going on, that don't show up, we were confused. Kevin was very confused because we both thought Pastor was preaching from the Word, and so we thought, are we being deceived?
Boycott Sunday affected me personally because of who boycotted it. Happened to be a good friend of mine. I either choose to follow the crowd or I make my own choice and smart decision on God's leading.
My heart felt so broken for Pastor and Tammy because first off, nobody should ever treat another person like that. And then secondly, nobody should treat a pastor like that because you're not in their shoes and you don't know them. And I remember saying, let's go. We are going to fight this and we are going to win.
When they come against them back in the 90s, they wanted them out and they sent me a letter, wanted me to boycott them. And I said, this one night, my whole family's going to be there. I said, if there was a night we're going to be there, tonight's the night.
That Sunday, we came and it was packed. There were like so many people there, like people I think that probably hadn't even been there from before were there.
There was a lot of joy in seeing the people that came and agreed that he was our pastor and was anointed to be our pastor.
I've always supported him and I always will.
At that point, I think I finally understood my purpose was to stand true, be supportive of what this man and this woman were, what they were called to do.
He was the person that needed to turn things around, and I knew that the people that were going to go needed to go, and it was just, again, part of the new start, and we needed it for the church. So.
We needed to weed out some people.
Right. Pastor worked for unity, strive for unity, and so that spoke volumes to me. Let's do this together as a family. And I remember it was on a Sunday night service. It was in a parking lot of the old church, and I don't know what was going on. with him. I wasn't in the leadership or knew anything behind the scenes. But I just felt led. In the parking lot, I was like, I'm here for you. Let's do this. Let's go forward. I believe in you. Like, let's go forward. And from then on, that was kind of like the moment of just him taking chances on me. I'm not going to say they were easy years. They weren't. They were tough. Everything growing the church was tough, me learning ministry and everything else. But it was that moment in that parking lot, honestly, that I look back and I say that's the time when we just said, let's do this thing.
If you're like me, you've probably been raised in a real traditional church. Even if you wore blue jeans, they might have a problem with it. My name is Jeff Chris. I'm the lead pastor at Gateway Assembly, and it's not like that here.
I still remember the Elvis skit. Paul Wampler coming down, the middle and dressed up like Elvis, and then pastor talking about how he ended up serving the world instead of the gospels that he was raised upon.
My mama raised me in a church quite like this, and it was a great feeling, but like I said, I just got too successful too quickly, and I had the money, I had the fame, I had the women. Let me tell you about the women, sir.
Okay.
Oh my goodness, through the years, I've played things I'm embarrassed to say I've played. Yeah. I was Cletus's wife a couple times. Don't laugh.
It was always fun and always exciting to see what he'd do next,
It was amazing. He brought so many strange things on the stage, boats and motorcycles.
Woo, we made it out. That's the scary part.
As I said earlier, that will be the only time I get on the back of a bike with you.
We, of course, come from the years of tradition. I often said, at Gateway, my pastor family marches to the beat of a different drummer.
Demonstrations with any power tools, the risks he takes, how he loves exploding things, fire, just
grilling steaks.
Oh, yeah.
Stay classy.
The things that your team will make you do, huh?
I remember one time when Pastor told me I had to be a part of his message, and if I did it, then I could pick out a toy at a store.
Monkey comes along, and this monkey is like, looks in the coconut, even puts the monkey's paw on it and jiggles it a little bit.
I got a coffee machine.
I'm a big Star Wars guy, so we had the Star Wars series a million years ago. I do remember the Twilight Zone. I remember we had some cool effect that we worked for days and days and days on because we had to match up a projector to a door.
We present to you the 3D presentation, 3D Sunday, the Twilight Zone.
Pastor, are you ready?
Yeah, you were supposed to come out, Doug. We said the Twilight Zone, and that was your cue.
And we had to get it just in a right angle. We had the idea to dye my hair black and put pomade in it, and I remember it burning really, really bad. It was a really cool effect in the end.
You just got your first taste into an alternate reality. Welcome to the Twilight Zone.
I remember he called me up to ask me if I could play a guy in a production that he was doing. So I worked on this End Times production called Terror in the Night with him, and I got my head got chopped off, and I was tortured and all that stuff.
All the youth got to be either angels or demons, and that was fun. But I think I wrote in one of my Bibles I had when I was a kid that one of those productions is what made me accept the Lord. It was terrifying.
I just remember one of the series back at the old building. It was Pastor Luke and Pastor Dave, and they got up on stage and they were singing AC/DC. Every time it said highway to hell, they'd be like HE double hockey sticks.
HE double hockey sticks. HE double hockey sticks.
My favorite was the the one with Paul on the stage playing with his short fingers.
See? Yeah. Oh, funny. This one's shorter than the other one.
I think the classic one is we're doing a series called Identity Theft. I come in, pastor is literally in a lounge chair like he's going to sleep watching TV or something, and I'm breaking into the house, and I didn't know I could even do this, scaled the truss, and I'm hanging on the truss and jumped off the truss onto the stage. I can't remember if I told him that was what I was gonna do. A lot of things were spontaneous.
Oh, mommy.
If you don't know, Pastor lost part of his pinky in a mishap at his house. And so this finger is a lot shorter, it's stubby. And one of the moments of the skit I'm coming up to, and I was like, wow, I've never seen one that small before. Speaking of his pinky, which everybody kind of knew, and I started playing with it while he's trying to stay in character, like he's sleeping, and I'm flinging it, and people are losing it.
Never saw one that small.
It's sort of an unwritten rule that the goal is to try and break him. The goal is to try to get him laughing. The goal is to try and subvert his expectations. Like, there's like, hey, this is what we talked through and he knows is gonna happen, but here's this one thing I'm not gonna tell him about because that will get a great reaction.
Oh, I wonder why Cletus hasn't been around for over a year.
What?
You moved and you never told me.
Now, there's a lot
Don't
of people...
you think that's a nice thing to tell the guy living in the attic? Hey, we're not gonna be here next week.
I just thought you knew that.
I've been Baptist for a year.
What sticks out to me is like Cletus skits that we would do all the time. And I hated them, but the only thing that I always found fun about it is it was almost entirely ad-libbed, it wasn't scripted, and I could just make fun of my dad, and he thought it was the funniest thing in the world.
Were you here for free samples, or?
Well, I mean, I think that's the least you could do.
It's gonna be hard to eat that with those kind of teeth.
Oh yeah, let's make some more fun of Cletus. That's a great idea. That's a great idea.
Cletus!
It's always been fun, and it's always been watching people being put in positions where they can excel and really see the true people come to light.
Seeing the things that we've done as we've transitioned from the old building to here, the first most wonderful time and being wowed, being like, wow, we really did something like that. Just over the years, there's been so many, but more importantly than just the memorable scenes and all that, just the solid biblical teaching throughout all that time. It doesn't really matter, what the backdrop is. The message has always stayed the same, and that was, to love people and love God.
From the age of 8 to 18, I had moved 19 times. And the summer after I graduated, my grandma, who worked at the church at the time as a custodian, she was like, well, do you want to come up north and visit with me? I went to a couple of gatherings. I fell in love with the people, and I fell in love with Pastor and Tammy.
There's just moments you just can't replay or reproduce. The type of community, the family, and even the accountability that comes with the church that we have at Gateway, there's no words to describe how it could even play out anywhere else.
I feel like Gateway is the closest thing we can get to what the early church was like.
There's so many churches that, out of fear, stifle the gifts. I appreciate that Gateway, or Pastor and Tammy, cultivate and give space for the gifts of the Spirit, whether that be prayer and intercession or gifts of healing, prophecy.
Honestly, I don't like the winter. I don't like Michigan weather. I want to move somewhere warm, and the fact that we can't pick up all of these people in this building and move it somewhere else is the only reason I'm still here.
I think one of the most special things I've seen at Gateway is the unity of the leadership that stayed consistent I've seen behind the scenes how real it is. And the overflow of that unity you can just see very easily in the church. But just watching how they have stayed with the stuff is just such a testimony of where we are, that all of these people, we can say a ton about Pastor and Tammy, which is all true. But all of these other people that stuck with them, that's the glue. Like, if they hadn't, none of this would exist today.
I don't think we'd be serving the Lord if we weren't coming here.
Just the special anointing on like Pastor and Miss Tammy and the leadership and the pastors here, it's just like different than anything else that I've ever experienced.
We make it like fun, but also you can feel the presence of God while you're doing it.
A place where I go to worship God, where I feel safe to do that.
It's just comforting and it's home, and I would sacrifice anything just to be able to be here.
Because I go here, I met those friends that I can have that accountability and friendship with.
I think it truly has become like a second home and just a place to always come back to.
I see the hand of God on this church. I wouldn't be coming here if it wasn't.
I think coming to this church and seeing how people genuinely love each other, and then if you let them know you're hurting, they get a group around you to support you, and that's what family is.
Our children have all gone here, have all been dedicated, baptized.
When we first started coming, we were going through not being able to have children. It was something we desired. Tammy and Pastor just poured into us. We had faith, obviously, and believed God could do it, but they just stood along with us.
We've seen some powerful miracles of God throughout here. I thrive that I can say that my kids grew up in this church.
I think now stepping into a season as a family of 3 and having a child, the reason why we named Arrow is that he would go further than where we could go. And we're so thankful to be in a church where we come to work and we bring Arrow, and it just shows a family aspect in every sense of the way.
It's like that old adage of it takes a village, except like mom and dad have exemplified such a culture here of we are all family, and it really does take a village in that way.
Yeah, I'm thankful Gateway's our village.
When we made that hard decision to leave where we were, it kind of felt like we were also making the decision to give up full-time ministry. We kind of let go of a dream that we had been believing for. And so just to watch it all come full circle, it was a place of healing for our family. It truly has just become home.
It really redeemed. It redeemed the party fam, us, just from, I don't know where we would be if we didn't have that time to sit and get healing, and just really encounter God's presence in a strong way. And Gateway facilitate that. They carry the presence of God, and it redeemed me.
I love coming to church every Sunday, and all the illustrations, everything that from day one, the pastor's done. It's just fun. It's just a beautiful place,
Once he sets his mind to do something, he does it.
Although they are senior pastors and primarily care for the overall church, I think that they are very invested in the youth.
They've always been there for us throughout all the years that we've been here. They've been there every time we needed to talk to them. And
they're also your friends and your family, and when you go through your best moments and your worst moments, you look around and they're with you. So they're very loyal to you. They'll answer your text, they'll answer your call whenever you need them.
I think one of the biggest things for me was just a spiritual mom and dad to kind of guide me and lead me, and I've seen them be that to so many people, youth, adults, people who just have never had that type of guidance in their life. And for me, that was huge, because it was I'm gonna take your hand and I'm gonna walk with you into this and show you what it looks like, and not just oh, that's great that you came to our church on Sunday, but it was so much more than that.
It's really important to have a leader that has a vision and that will tell the entire congregation the vision.
I love that they're so relatable, that they will talk to you about anything.
They care about literally everybody and just bringing everybody to Jesus. And he doesn't really care what people think. I mean, he does, but he doesn't really care. He'll just do whatever God tells him to do.
I respect their boldness probably the most. Super awesome that they will just go out there, especially Pastor, just speaking complete truths, like from the Bible, and he's not afraid of it.
He's so transparent on everything that he does, and he speaks the truth, and he speaks the word, what the word says. I mean, he don't sugarcoat it or anything. He tells you like it is.
I have so appreciated Jeff's way of delivery in the word. He doesn't hold back. Whatever has to be said, he says it, and is very bold in giving the truth that God has laid upon his heart.
I guess if I could describe Dad's leadership in just a couple of words, I've always seen it as prophetic chaos, where he says, we're gonna go and do this thing. God said we're gonna do this, and it's gonna be this way. And every single time you kind of look at him like, are you sure? And every single time it just turns out, and it's like, wow, like that was so right on. And I don't think I would have guessed that in a million years that was gonna work out the way it did.
Pastor's interesting because he has this uncanny ability to just like, if you are just willing to hold on for the ride, you'll get in the right spot. It'll be the weirdest ride, and he won't at the beginning of the ride go, this is where we're going, because he doesn't know either. He knows we're supposed to be on the ride. And I've watched that the people that are willing to get on board with that, the Lord just like blesses them in crazy ways. And the people who are like, no, I'm not getting on until you tell me where it gets off or where we're gonna go in the meantime. Those people tap out, and I end up over time sort of watching their lives not have the blessing that I think it could. And my mom is just like one of those people. She's just, the way she hears the Lord, the way she's capable of articulating what the Lord is saying. She has like this Mary spirit of like, Mary knew that the Lord had spoken that she was gonna give birth to the Savior, but she stored all that stuff up in her heart. She treasured it. That's my mom. That's what we're working on, because she over treasures and she needs to share more. We're trying.
We all know Miss Tammy is someone who's like very quick-witted, and she just really gets Pastor going sometimes on Sundays, but like that is nothing compared to how honest she is at Collision when it's just us girls.
The atmosphere and the presence of just her and her character is just like unlike anyone else.
She's just like always wanted to know more about like what's going on in my life, what I'm doing, and just being able to learn from her and just kind of like relate to her on different ways is really cool, like hearing her story.
She can find anything to relate to, and it feels like you're talking to a real human being instead of like this stereotypical like perfect pastor's wife from suburbia, you know?
She's almost kind of like a second mom.
I think she's just someone you can rely on,
Yeah.
someone that's there for you through the good and the bad, and because of 25 years of ministry, she understands everything that I walk through. If it's as a wife or a mom or a pastor's wife, she's experienced it.
Right.
And I think that we look up to their family a ton when we're raising kids.
I see them and I want to shape my life after how they shape their life and the way they parent and the way they're raised, even in the church and ministry. And so I want to shape my life how they did theirs. And it's inspiring to me.
Pastor always says like what you see is what you get. Like in terms of like you might like me, you might not, but like it really is the truth that what you see on Sunday is what you're gonna get.
I would say them just being completely transparent and real with us and not like hiding anything or sugarcoating anything, like the truth.
Everything that you see when you just maybe see them from the stage part is they're the same people. And they are there for you, and if they say they're going to be there for you, they truly are in your hardest times in life.
The depth of their calling and the depth of the things that they are willing to endure for their call on this war is just an amazing thing for me. They have endured hell, and the sacrifices they have made have been amazing.
I don't think people understand what 25 years actually means, because you don't see that very often. We're a pastor, and actually we're very fortunate because it's a pastor and his whole family have been with us for 25 years. They've stayed, and they've stayed and been very faithful to each other, which is huge nowadays, faithful to the church, faithful to their family. It is an honor to have Pastor and Tammy for 25 years, and we're blessed. We are so blessed because of it.
25 years is significant because it's like, who does anything for 25 years? Like, we're amazed when people stay married for 25 years, and that's something you promise to do forever. Nobody promises anything when they walk into a job, when they walk into a ministry, when a pastor takes a church, and that's what they did. They were just like, we're gonna be here until God is so clear that there is absolutely nothing else we could give these people, or until we both simultaneously drop dead. It's impressive because that means that you have walked through a ton of hardship, a ton of people coming and promising you that commitment that you came and promised, and then they flake. If you've been there 25 years, you have seen some stuff. And if in the midst of seeing all that, experiencing all that, feeling all that, your inclination is to stay, I think that should be celebrated because it's rare.
They have 25 years of not giving up.
Yeah.
But they have stayed the course. 25 years through the thick and thin. And I'm ready to celebrate that.
Pastor Jeff and Tammy, we want to congratulate you on this celebratory event of 25 years of ministry.
You have been such a blessing, both of you, not just to Wendy and I and other pastors and your own staff and community, but to literally ministers and ministries all over the world.
You have just made us so proud as your siblings in the ministry work you have done within the church.
And look at what the Lord has done. Growth, your 3 sons serving God with you in pastoral ministry, and their wonderful spouses and children, and a church impacting the world for Jesus Christ.
Watching it just emerge from this smaller building, and you used every inch of that building for God's glory, and then how He moved you to the new location, and the ministry that you have, the impact that Gateway has had.
The first time I ever spoke at Gateway, I felt so impressed that God was going to make this church into a fountainhead church in that area. And so many people have spoken over you. You've poured into that ministry, and it's exciting to see what God is doing.
Jeff and Tammy, Angelo and I love and cherish the friendship we have with you two. Your timely words of encouragement are priceless to us.
Thanks for pastoring with grace and truth, and way to lead with compassion and convictions.
Thank you for letting us fill the pew, and thank you for making us feel so welcome to be a part of your flock. We love you.
Gateway, in one word, is fun. Pastor would always say, church should be the most fun place on planet Earth. If it's not, what's the point?
We become a family because we have a shared experience. Most of us have been at that moment at the altar and felt the presence of God. It's what knits the family together.
It's the house of the presence of God.
It's where the Lord is, and it's where all your hearts are, and you walk with Christ, and you talk His talk.
We are honest, even when it hurts, but that's what love is.
Coming here was just a good place to get out of our shell and just even like meet new people and just be able to grow with the people around here.
Being able to go to a church where they're like, we accept you as who you are. Like, you don't have to do anything special. You don't have to please us. I think that's huge.
Just seeing that people truly care for your well-being and like hold you accountable.
I have all these people around me to help me be better as a Christ follower and be more like Jesus.
We do life together. We break bread together. We share things together. Like, no matter how hard it gets with the seasons of life that we go through, we do it together.
The church itself, it's our family.
To raise my children in the same church that I came to know Him, just seeing like a whole nother generation get raised up has been really special.
seeking after your face. I thank you for a people that are not ashamed to lift up your holy name. Dear Lord, their number one desire is your will for their lives. Lord, I thank you for a church that, Lord, we want to see go forward for you, dear Jesus. Dear Lord, anoint your servant as he humbly comes before you in your precious name. Amen.
We love you, Gateway.
I love you, Gateway.
We love you, Gateway.
I love you, Gateway.
We love you, Gateway. We love you, Gateway.
We love you, Gateway.
You have no idea how much we love you, Gateway, and thank you so much for giving Tammy and I the privilege to pastor you for 25 years. Thank you.